Hello, everyone, and welcome to Weaverbirds Live TV with me, Karen Weaver, and
Emma Weaver.
this week we're talking about forgiveness. I'm giggling because if only you knew that me and Emma are chatting away in the back behind the scenes, and then it's like, oh, bugger, we've only got 22 seconds to get on.
That's all part of the fun.
Every week.
We're showing up our authentic selves because we literally just show up, don't we?
Oh my god. Yes. So my god, there was a lot happened this week, wasn't there, sis? There's so much that happened. We tied up our ultimate speaker 6 weeks for our TEDx speakers. There's some amazing talks coming. Hey, it's exciting.
Oh my goodness! I mean, there's emotional talks, there's quirky talks, there's very methodical talks. So it's going to be amazing. And to think there's 20. I mean, there's 20 people ready to show up in the world with their TED Talk. So it's really exciting.
It's so exciting for the people who's going to watch the talks, but also for the people who's doing the talks, because it's potential to change lives. It's just amazing, which is fabulous. And then what else has been going on for you this week? You've been doing your Global Business Awards applications.
Yay!
Oh gosh,
I know. I never thought I'd see the day. I'm so excited about that. I am genuinely so excited about that. And I also received my Women in Leadership one to watch.
Have you got your award there?
Sure. I have. I know it only came today. I couldn't believe it. Let me see. Yay!
Oh, look at that. Isn't it beautiful? And that's my favorite picture of you there, the one where you're standing with your hands on your hips.
I love that picture. And then it comes in with it's actually lovely. It's quite it's huge.
Luxurious.
There's a couple of familiar faces in there as well. We've got Eleanor in there and Una's in there. There's a lady, Jacqueline Hudson, that I've kind of followed a wee bit. So it's lovely to be featured with other women. It's amazing. Just you can really feel the sense of the powerhouses that are in it. And I'm like, oh, I'm in there too.
Well, you have definitely stepped up and stepped into the leadership arena over this past year. And we were just speaking, and we may as well speak about it here on Weaverbirds Live TV, because on the 15th of August, you launched your book last year. So it's not even a year yet. No. And that was the catalyst of how your life changed.
100%. And that's what I was just saying to you before we come on here, because, the difference a year can make, the difference a week can make, or even a day. It's unreal. But, reflecting back, and I suppose we're getting out and about a wee bit more now. I know a lot of people over there aren't, but we're starting to get back out and about again, and the world feels all different. But everything is different. And definitely I can pinpoint the 15th of August last year, whenever I became an international best-selling author. Thank you very much, sis. Whenever we launched the Blue Line. It was a lovely, quiet day down here, just some family and balloons and cake. Of course, you know me, there was cake. But the ripple effect of that, personally and professionally, has completely changed my life. And really, even though the Blue Line obviously isn't necessarily associated with Mental Wealth International, the two definitely correlated and just springboarded at the same time. So whether it was the energy or the intention, or the fact then that people were like, well, who is Emma Weaver? Because of the Blue Line. And then I was able to say, I founded Mental Wealth International, changing the narrative around mental health. We're talking investing in your mental wealth and just coming at it from a different angle. But the book definitely was what springboarded me.
So exciting. But it makes you visible and gets conversations going. And people are like, oh, who's this new girl on the scene? And you got so much radio and newspapers and all this kind of stuff. You were everywhere for months. It was amazing. And it still is amazing. That's just the way
it still be talked about. And then I suppose the TED Talk So you had then the book, and then Mental Health International established itself quite well, and then the TED Talk, and they all just complemented each other. And I mean, people are probably sick looking at it, but the conversation needs to be had,
Yeah.
and there's still a way to go, but it's definitely gathered traction. I can't believe it.
Oh, it's just my heart sings when I think about it. You know, it was so good. It was so good.
Who
Right,
knew?
so let's talk about forgiveness, which is our topic of this week, which can be a bit of a hard one, but it doesn't have to be. It can be very impactful. Forgiveness is one of the most powerful things that we do, and I want to just start by saying that forgiveness, we often think of forgiveness as something that we bestow on to someone because they've done something, and it's usually something that doesn't align with our values. We feel as if somebody's perpetrated something on us, and it hurts our heart, and it's hard to forgive. But I think whenever you live with an open heart, and it's not that you become a walkover, it's just that you can see um, wider than your own values, and you can understand why this impacted you so much. But you can also understand the freedom that comes from um, forgiving something that happened to you, or forgiving yourself for something that you've done in your life that you find hard to deal with, because then it releases the hold that it has on you in the past, and then you're able to move forward. Because when something's pulling you back, it's hard to fully be present and flow into your best self in your future. Whenever something's holding you back, it's one of those things, with forgiveness. What do you think, sis?
I totally agree. And I was thinking about this earlier on in the car, because the only way we know we're having these conversations. And there's just a couple of things come up for me. And I suppose forgiveness is like, it's internally letting go of bitterness or resentment or even hate towards another person or an issue or whatever it is that came up. So it's a two-way process when you forgive someone. Like, I mean, properly forgive them, not just lip service. When you properly, through your heart, forgive someone for something that you feel that you've been wrong, because there's different perspectives in this. And when you forgive someone, you don't necessarily have to tell them. You can forgive
Mm-hmm.
someone, let it go, release all that, find goodness in your heart. You don't necessarily have to tell the person that you forgave them, or even, kind of made any kind of moves towards that. It's very freeing. And another thing that came up in my mind whenever I was thinking about it, like, forgiveness isn't easy. It's not an easy thing to do at times. And then asking to be forgiven by saying, I'm sorry, asking for forgiveness as well by saying sorry only means something if your action by the actions that you take after asking for forgiveness, if that makes sense. So you can
Oh,
say you're
absolutely.
sorry and not really be sorry, and just say, look, I'm sorry, will you forgive me, and still create the same patterns. However, if you were to say sorry and ask for forgiveness and change, or try to make up whatever it was that you're asking for, because it's so broad, it'd be forgiveness for
It
anything.
is so
Unless
broad.
you make the change, the request really doesn't amount to anything, does it?
Yeah. Yeah, there has to be the intention behind it. And for me, and for anyone watching, please join the conversation in the comments. For me personally, I find it easier to forgive whenever the intention has been for the person to seek forgiveness. But I also absolutely truly value the journey, the internal journey within me, to go through the motions to a place of where I can just forgive without even
Yeah.
telling them. And it's an energetic exchange. It doesn't have to be a verbal exchange. It's an energetic exchange, and you can feel the ties of it just releasing from you, from holding you back. And for me, a big thing is whenever something, like, I always honor and have the, I always appreciate that, sometimes it takes two to tango, and I honor what my part in anything ever was, because, we all have to show up in the world, and sometimes unconsciously we do things. But but for me personally, it's the intention of which someone has, or even myself, has done something that needs forgiving. You
Yeah.
know, what's the intention behind it? Was it done with just pure malice, or was it done without awareness or whatever? So there's lots of things, because I'm all about intention. You know, the miracle of intent. Thing. If somebody's just out to get, and you're just in their way, and then it's hard to forgive. But then you just go on the journey yourself, don't you?
Yeah.
It's just like,
Yeah.
wow,
There's a
wow.
lot of letting go in forgiveness. So whether it's you're asking for it or you're receiving it or you're forgiving yourself, there
Yeah.
is a lot of letting go and a lot of, it is an internal thing
Emma,
as well.
do you remember whenever we were kids and we used to be made to go to confessions?
Oh my goodness.
Like we used to be sent to confessions to seek forgiveness so that we could get Holy Communion at Mass on a Sunday.
Like, I mean,
And I remember sitting outside going, what am I going to ask forgiveness for? I didn't do anything wrong.
but you
I
probably
wasn't owning
didn't.
any of my things at that time. But you know what I mean? You're just a child and you're going, you know what? And then forgiveness is bestowed upon you by this person and you're given your penance and stuff like that. And I'm like, why am I saying these prayers? What did I do wrong?
I
But
know,
just
but
be
then
trying to
the
solve
fact
something.
then, but do you not think then the fact then that penance was associated to confessing your sins and asking for forgiveness, it just set us off on the wrong foot altogether because it was like, are you joking me? Like, I mean, you nearly then aren't ever going to admit doing wrong again for the rest of your life for fear of penance. Wasn't me.
Oh, I shouldn't laugh, but I do laugh because, if you just didn't understand the process, you just knew you had to do it, or you didn't get a treat or something because of it.
Or
Oh,
you were
hilarious.
you were like the one at mass that didn't go for communion because and you're like, oh please come on here. Like, but I mean, in a funny sort of a way, in a strange sort of way, and I don't agree with that process to be honest with you, but
Yeah.
in a strange sort of a way, there's something in it, just maybe not that rigid. If you do something wrong, you should admit I've done something wrong. I'm not too sure now for the sins that we'd have been coming out with that penance was necessarily needed.
Yeah.
But I mean, in adulthood, I think sometimes it's hard sometimes to say, okay, I get it, I done wrong. You don't have to say, will you please forgive me? You can if you like, but I mean, sometimes naming it as well as an act of forgiveness, changing your behavior is showing that
Mhm.
you're sorry and you want forgiveness. There's different
Mhm.
things that can kind of come in under it as well.
For me, I identify it as now because I'm older and wiser, but I identify it now as the process. Like it's not that that priest had any big powers to bestow upon me that I can't bestow upon myself,
Yeah.
as in the freedom that forgiveness gives you. Do you know what I mean? You
Yes.
can bestow that on yourself, but forgiveness is love. It comes through the channel of love. So when you forgive with an open heart, then it has an amazing ripple effects and releases any ties that anything has on you. And a lot of people need to forgive, not for someone else or for anything other reason than for themselves, for their own
Yeah.
healing journey. So, like that's just one of the things we just have to keep reiterating is
But truly
the,
forgiven,
yeah,
properly in your
open
heart,
hearted
sitting,
forgiveness.
whether it's meditating on it or going to a place of wherever you like to go, but really forgiven because it just like see holding on to resentments, it's not good. And it's what I said there a couple of minutes ago. You don't even have to tell the person. If you cannot be talking to somebody and still forgive someone for what has happened and
Releasing
truly
it from your
forgive.
body energetically, sis.
Yeah.
And like, this is why we're talking about it so important, because when you hold on to resentment for lifetimes, and many people do, and I've known many people who have held on to resentment, it harbors within you and it
Yes.
manifests as illnesses. So the actual science around that and the health implications that comes from holding on to things, it's
It
huge. It's
is.
absolutely huge. Can I share a bit out of this book?
Yay!
So I just have the affirmations for forgiveness that we wrote. There's only 7. So forgiving others is not a gift to them. It is a gift to ourselves.
Yeah.
And number 2 is when I forgive, I free myself from energy that holds me back. Number 3 is I deserve to be loved and forgiven. And we all do. Number 4 is I forgive myself completely.
Yeah.
Number 5 is forgiveness is a choice. It gives me freedom. Number 6 is forgiveness shows strength of character. It's not a weakness, it's a strength. And seventh is I choose happiness through the magic in forgiving myself and others. And that's it, isn't
Yeah.
it? We should
I
all
actually have
aspire
a
for joy and
post.
happiness.
I have a post on social media going out tomorrow about how forgiveness, it's easier not to and to criticize, whereas forgiveness is the harder thing to do, but it shows character. So, and I didn't say that in the book, but
Yeah.
it's something similar along them lines. And I mean, I'm quite hard on myself, and you know that. As a person, I would kind of be like quite hard on myself. And then there is just times we just have to kind of let it go and realize you're only human. And whilst I say I don't sit going, gosh, I have to forgive myself, going a wee bit easy on yourself is forgiving yourself as well for not knowing better at the time, or, not trying your best or whatever it is. And that book as well, the universal laws, one of them was forgiveness.
Yeah.
And it, like, whenever we read it, and I remember the book club saying that chapter really resonated with me.
Yeah.
It really sat with me, and realizing that, not holding on to resentment and not necessarily thinking bad of other people or situations or things, whatever it is, and just kind of going a wee bit easier on things makes a huge difference. Makes a huge difference.
Yeah, it does. It's one of the universal laws is to forgive.
Yeah.
And it's all for yourself and all for your energy. And it's just people don't realize the power in it. But it does. The reason why people avoid it is because it is uncomfortable. It
It's
causes
hard.
discomfort.
Yeah.
And before the breakthrough of the forgiveness becomes the struggle, it's one of the
Yeah.
5 stages of the soul. So if you want forgiveness, you're going to have a little bit of a struggle, but it's always so worth it.
Yeah.
It's just
Yeah.
so worth
And
it.
like it improves everything, Karen. Like it improves, like, and it doesn't have to be, a romantic relationship. It can be your relationship with your
Mm,
sibling or your colleagues or whoever, just someone, your neighbor,
yeah.
whatever it is. The art of being able to forgive and kind of live and let live. It's amazing.
Yeah, it's just so freeing. It's just moving on. You're going, oh, that? Yeah, no,
I forgot about that.
no, I forgot about that years ago. Moved on from that. Yeah, it's never held
Totally,
me back.
totally.
But that's the thing. But in this one here, I've got the freedom process, the freedom and forgiveness process. And I'll just quickly run over the 6 stages, which is one, identify what it is you need to forgive. So really
Yeah.
knowing what it is that you need to forgive. Number two is spend some time and thought about how it is from the past and no longer hold you back from living your best future. You do have to sit and, either sit in thought of it and own it. Own
Yeah.
it. Don't let that power be with someone else. Own it for yourself. Um, honor any connected feelings of hurt and disconnect them from the person, scenario, or incident. Own these feelings; they are yours. You are no longer a victim to them. You can disconnect from them by choice, right in this moment, and release them from you as they no longer serve the person you are choosing to become. They do not define any part of you other than to help mold you into the amazing person you are today. See,
That is a
everything.
great perspective.
Goodness, I wrote that. That's cool.
Do you ever
See
write
what
something, read
happened?
it back, and go, "Oh my goodness, I wrote
Why did
that."
I write that? That's what I was trying to say earlier on, everyone. So consciously, number four is consciously release these thoughts from you. A clear choice, pinpointed in time, and you will feel an energetic shift.
Yeah.
And wait till you see the days after. Some things there'll be like a universal affirmation that'll come that'll show you that your work was worth it. Number five is celebrate and be prepared to feel a release and lightness when your energy settles. There'll be a bit of emotional turmoil because, but the more you learn to do this and practice this in your life and bask in the freedom of it, the more it'll just become second nature to you. And number six is know that the freedom we gifted was for ourselves first and foremost, and the perpetrator second. So there you are. You are free, and it no longer has any power over you. There you go.
Do you think it's part of that saying that we do talk about? Feel the feeling, recognize it, own it, and let it go.
Yeah, Yeah, let
No.
it go.
I
Yeah.
know, it does sound like a Frozen thing. That's actually quite a clever movie in terms of teaching
It's
young children
amazing.
about feelings and that. And
Hmm.
Let It Go is actually something, and it's clever the way the movies can do that as well. But oh, like, right, don't try to hide your feeling. Recognize it. Go, wow, that was hard. Sit in it. Don't deny it. However, let it go. Write it down. Burn a piece of paper. Meditate on it. You know, whatever you need to do. Don't deny the feeling, but let it go.
And no matter who you are in life, you could be the highest vibration of, you could be Mother
Yeah,
Teresa. You still have, there's still things in life that, come up that,
yeah,
you either have to forgive, because we're all human,
yeah,
it's totally natural. And you're not, not a good, I see people who have, maybe been more adventurous in their teenage years, and it goes into their, the kind of bestow this bad attitude of, of
yeah,
themselves, to have this thing. Whereas if they just let it go, and the things that they did, just treat them as learning experience, seek
yeah.
forgiveness and
We're
move
all only
on.
human.
Yeah.
Everybody's only human. We're all on a journey together. So long as it's not something absolutely horrendous. I mean, and if you're not hurting anyone else,
Mm,
just choose forgiveness every time. But forgiveness because of love. Do you know what I mean? The two are totally together.
yeah.
It's love. It's that energy, vibration. It's the feeling. You know.
It's self-love. Remember, you were talking about it last week, about the forgiveness is big part of self-love.
Yeah, yeah.
It's
And then I
so
seen your
huge.
book. You put the book out today as well. Your next book.
Ah, the law of love. Yeah, I really do adore this book. It's come together really nicely. And that's the thing, is I never know what it's going to be like. I have all of these chapters laid out and things, but the book always ends up being so different
That's
at the
lovely.
end. And each one of them are different. Like, you've got the first three. Each one of them are
Yeah,
standalone in their own way.
totally.
Um yeah, yeah, yeah. And my big thing that happened last week got bigger this week. So, and I haven't told you about that yet, but I'll tell you
No.
after we go off. It was
Inside
so bloody
scoop.
exciting. It's like, yes. But that's because, I know how to dust the cobwebs in life,
Yeah.
and make everything, keep it as high vibrational as possible. Like, I this week I had really, I wasn't well again,
That's right.
with a different issue. It wasn't a sickness, it was with stomach issues. But I always go to the Louise Hay book and see what the reason is behind it, and it's popped up for me a few times, because I don't like not having a sore stomach. It's really debilitating. It stops me in
Yeah.
my tracks. And I am a person who had a stomach of steel for years and years, and it's like, what? Food
Yeah.
is one of my most favorite things. Now, come on. But I go and I find out the reason behind it, and I go, oh my God, So every time it crops up, I address the core issue again and get
Yeah.
back. So I always recommend Louise Hay's "You Can Heal
Yeah.
Your Life." I remember sending you that, didn't I?
Yeah,
I
I
said,
do have it because and it's on my bookshelf. But would you believe it? I was actually on a live or a webinar or something one time. Someone started talking about it, and I was able to lift it up and say, "I have it." And
yeah.
you know what other book as well? Do you know who it was? It was oh gosh, it was the Trini and Susanna book. You wouldn't believe
Oh,
it, or How to Dress Yourself, and that book's about 20 years old. So the two books
yes.
come up in the one conversation. It was hilarious.
Oh, it's
Yeah,
amazing. See?
random.
Yeah, it is. Well, whenever I first started becoming very aware of attraction and all of the powers that is in it, it was to do with um, Louise Hay's book, because it's such a gentle approach to being
Yeah.
aware of your thoughts and how you can manage them, and also The Secret as well.
Yeah. Oh, that was massive too. I have
Mm.
it on Audible and in a book
I
form as
remember you
well.
could not get your head around.
Yeah.
Remember it? You were like, "What? I have to monitor every one of my thoughts. That's just, And I was like, "No,
That's
don't
actually
overthink
11
it.
years ago. That's
No,
11
don't."
years ago because I remember I was living in Newtown. It's 11 years ago.
Yeah, isn't that bizarre? 11 years ago.
Mhm.
Wow, wow, holy moly!
I know. We've done it
um,
again. We've done it
we've
again. We've
done
been
it
over our
again.
time.
Yeah, we always do. We always do. But guys, just think about what forgiveness means to you, and how, if you just apply it to your life and become aware of it, feel the discomfort of it, and move on for it. Because I know so many people who are being held back by things that they don't need to be held back from. They just need to claim ownership of them and move on with them. Don't let them pull you back into the past. It's not worth it, because you are worth more than that.
For sure. Absolutely.
Okay, guys, see you next week for our last in the series, which is the beauty in belief. Hey,
Oh, lovely.
isn't it crazy? These weeks are flying in, and then we're back to inviting guests on. So
We have a lovely lineup of guests as well.
we have a lovely lineup of guests. So be prepared to be inspired. All
Yay!
right, guys. Thank you so much to everyone who joined us, and we will see you again next week.
You better believe it.